Good afternoon, everyone. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, wonderful. It is a beautiful, sunny afternoon in Savannah, Georgia, the home of Savannah State University. I thank you all so much. People are still logging in, and I will give them a chance to come on in. We also have our Facebook Live page going. If you'd like to share that on, if you're friends with me, you can get on and ask your friends to share also. I am just elated. All right, so we have 16 online now with the WebEx, and no telling how many are out on Facebook. So it's just a couple of minutes after. I am going to go ahead and get started. Let me just generally show you our agenda for this afternoon, and then we will take it from there. Are you all ready?
I can't see myself.
Okay, let's see. You should be able to see my screen.
Let's see. I have a funny looking.
It's just a it's just a Word document. So no worries, you won't need to see it. I will be announcing whenever it is that as a reader. Good afternoon, Miss Steele. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm trying to see what I'm doing here.
Okay, you're fine. You're fine. Hear you. All right. So you won't be able to see yourself necessarily while I'm sharing. So let's go ahead and get started. Co-hosting with me this afternoon is Dr. Margaret Cox, my colleague in the Department of English Languages and Cultures here at the Savannah State University. All the alums will know why I said the. To bring us formal greetings now is our interim chair of the Department of English Languages and Cultures, and the full-time chair of Fine Arts, Humanities, and Wellness, Professor Nicholas Silberg.
Hello, everybody. Again, welcome. Welcome to the African American Read-In here at Savannah State University. I know that Dr. Cox and Professor West have put together a wonderful program for you today. We are also live streaming this event via Facebook Live on Savannah State Arts Facebook page. So if some of us or if your colleagues can't join us through WebEx, they can join us through Facebook Live, and it'll be recorded in case anybody missed it today. They'll be able to watch it later on. It's great to see so many familiar faces and new faces, and I am very excited for today. Thank you, Professor West, and all the readers.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So protocols we need to set. Please remember to mute your mics until it is your turn. I will also give you an opportunity for live clapping or responding after each presenter, whatever you think is appropriate. All right. And also, I ask your indulgence ahead of time in case there are any technical glitches, right? So this is Pat West, so just assume there's going to be a glitch somewhere. But okay, just take all mistakes for love and good effort. All right. So let's get started. It is Black History Month. We celebrate the culture, history, and victories of people in the African diaspora. And we do that without starting with the words of one of our famous and favorite writers, Mr. Langston Hughes and his brother Rosamond. A poem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, became a song. And let's hope that my multimedia is going to work at this point. And I'm just going to let the song play. You won't be able to see there is a beautiful video. This is the one that I normally show in my class with the lyric. But if we could now just give homage and listen to okay. I don't know about you all, but that song is forever uplifting, no matter where you are, under what conditions. So we want to certainly kick off this program. I hope you feel inspired now and you are ready to go on. We're going to just go ahead and I'm going to start calling people. We've established our protocols, and let's begin with set one. I'm calling set one out of the gloomy past. First, we will have reading the words of our founding president, Major Richard R. Wright. Mr. Marius Davis, a professional advisor here at Savannah State University. He is going to read a poem that I discovered by Major Wright. It is entitled Men of Thought and Action. Mr. Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Professor West. It is a pleasure to be reading this afternoon the words of our founding president, Major Richard Robert Wright, Sr., Men of Thought and Action. Men of thought, be up and stirring night and day. Sow the seed, withdraw the curtain, clear the way. Men of action, aid and cheer them as ye may. There's a fount about to stream. There's a light about to beam. There's a warmth about to glow. There's a flower about to blow. There's a midnight blackness changing into gray. Men of thought and men of action, clear the way. Once the welcome light has broken, who shall say what the unimagined glories of the day? What the evils that shall perish in its ray? Aid the dawning tongue and pen, aided hopes of honest men, aided paper, aided type, aided for the hour is right, and our earnest must not slacken into play. Men of thought and men of action, clear the way. Lo, a cloud about to vanish from the day, and a brazen wrong to crumble into clay. Lo, the rights about to conquer, clear the way. With the right shall many more enter smiling at the door. With the giant wrong shall fall, many others great and small, that for ages long have held us for their prey. Men of thought and men of action, clear the way.
It never gets old hearing those words. Let's give Mr. Davis a hand or snaps, however you want to respond. Thank you so much for delivering those inspiring words from our founding president, born a slave, and did so many things to live up to his motto that he told General Howard, for whom Howard University is named. What shall we tell the people of the North? Tell them we are rising. Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to make a little change and a little adjustment. I just thought of this. I'm going to take some liberties here. We have with us this afternoon the great-granddaughter of our founding president, Major Richard R. Wright. So it seems appropriate to let her follow Mr. Davis with her reading in whatever way she wants to greet us. So I'll bring you now Dr. Reverend Carolyn Jordan, who works in our Right Choice Mentoring Program, Right, meaning W-R-I-G-H-T, named after her great-grandfather, Major Richard Robert Wright. All right, Dr. Jordan.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for having me, and thank you for accommodating my schedule. When asked what I was going to read, I turned to Daughters of Thunder by Betty Collier Thomas. Daughters of Thunder is a chronicle of Black women who were preachers, and Jarena Lee, who is credited for being the first African-American woman ordained preacher in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, I just want to read something about her and then do a short excerpt from another woman, Sojourner Truth. Black women who preach have not been as secure as the historical literature on women, religion, and African Americans has suggested. Although women who preach have not been and still are not widely recognized in mainstream Christianity as equals of the male preachers, they have continued to come forth and to pursue the prize, the pulpit. In doing so, they have been singular heroes and powerful actors in the struggle for Black empowerment, especially the empowerment of Black women. The voices of Black women preachers have not been heard in the pages of history. When and where the names of Black women preachers have appeared, their stories have been told primarily in excerpts that render them exceptional and isolated from the very people that they sought to elevate. Most 19th and many 20th century Black women preachers have gained little except scorn. They have often been viewed as different, strange, and in some cases, crazed simply because they chose to preach. And this is an example of that. This was in 1851, delivered at the 1851 convention in Akron, Ohio, a speech
Yes.
by Jarena Lee, and I'll just read a portion of it. Well, children, why is there so much racket? There must be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women at the North all talking about rights, the white men will be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all they're here talking about? That man over there says that women need to be helped in the carriages and lifted over ditches and have to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me in the carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could heed me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most of them sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? And then they talk about this thing in the head. What's this thing they call it? Intellect. That's it, honey. That's it. Intellect. What's that got to do with women's rights or with Negroes' rights? My cup won't hold but a pint, and yours holds a quart. Wouldn't you be to let me have my little half a measure full? Then that little man in the black bear, he says women can't have as much right as men because Christ was a woman. Well, where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with it. The first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone. These women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. And now they asking to do it. The men better let them. Obliged to you for hearing me. And now old Sojourner ain't got nothing more to say. Thank you.
All right. Let's give Dr. Jordan a hand. Oh my goodness. Again, I began my day with the work of Sojourner Truth. My students in the nonfiction class are reading her today. So quite coincidental, all right? And now I'm thinking of looking up that book, Daughters of Thunder. I made a note of it. So thank you for teaching us also today. Oh, beautiful cover. Thank you. All right. All right, so moving along. All right, so There we go. We're going to look at our program now. We do have, if you all will indulge us, I have an agenda. It's fine to change up. I have another instructor who's wearing double duty hats today, and that is lecturer Frank Mendelson. I'm going to be calling on Frank now to read from one of the works of Langston Hughes. He's going to share with us Theme for English B. Frank?
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And if I may, I'd like to dedicate this to two people, this reading. The first is to Gary Swindell, a native of Savannah, very influential. I would call him a poet as well as a musician. And Gary introduced me to Langston Hughes's Black Nativity pretty much around the time I arrived in Savannah about 7 or 8 years ago. And we miss him. And I also like to dedicate this, if I may, to my mother, who brought the collected works of Langston Hughes to us kids, my brother and I. And one of the things that we did when we were growing up was memorize his poems. So it's a real pleasure to come back to one of them that I remember from my childhood. This is Theme for English B by Langston Hughes. The instructor said, "Go home and write a page tonight, and let that page come out of you. Then it will be true." I wonder if it's that simple. I am 22, colored, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then Durham, then here to this college on the hill above Harlem. I am the only colored student in the class. The steps from the hill lead down into Harlem through a park. Then I cross St. Nicholas, 8th Avenue, 7th, and I come to the Y, the Harlem Branch Y, where I take the elevator up to my room, sit down, and write this page. It's not easy to know what is true for you or me at 22, my age. But I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear. Harlem, I hear you. Hear you, hear me. We too, you, me, talk on this page. I hear New York too. Me? Who? Well, I like to sleep, eat, drink, and be in love. I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a pipe for Christmas present or records, Bessie, Bop, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks like or other races. So will my page be colored that I write? Being me, it will not be white, but it will be part of you, instructor. You are white, yet a part of me as I am a part of you. That's American. Sometimes, perhaps, you don't want to be part of me, nor do I often want to be part of you, but we are, that's true. As I learn from you, I guess you learn from me. Although you're older and white and somewhat more free, this is my page for English B. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Let's thank Frank for his recitation. All right. We thank you so much. I've known Frank for a few years now, even before he came to Savannah State. We share a mutual friend and a fellow writer, Mr. Daryl Gartrell. I hope he's on today. 21 Years of Wisdom is his book, and we met through a writing group, a Savannah writers group. And so I hold Frank as a dear friend in the writing community and also in our Savannah State community. So thank you for your participation and your presence. You were one of the first to respond. All right, so, all right, let me take a quick look at my, back at the agenda here. Let's just take a quick look again. All right. just to make sure we're keeping on track. If there's anyone else who needs to go out of order, or if you've come in, please just put a note in the chat for me, and we will go on. All right. So thank you. See, Mr. Davis, and then we had Dr. Jordan and Frank Mendelson. We're going to pick up the program now. All right. Another dear friend, another colleague, another person in our service community to Savannah, our service to Savannah State University. That is none other than Dr. Rose Metz, who is retired but not retired. Y'all understand? Okay, Dr. Metz, you ready?
Can I share my Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Am I going to be able to move this?
Yes, you should be able to. Yes. Dr. Metz is going to share with us an antebellum sermon by by Paul Lawrence Dunbar.
Actually, before we start, I will help you along in moving the presentation, if you don't mind.
I don't mind, but the only thing is, are you going to know when to turn the page? You will?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well,
Can you, Dr. Metz, if you would just maybe raise your hand or something to signal Dr. Cox? That would
Okay.
work.
Okay. All righty.
Okay?
So,
All right, I'm gonna go back to mute.
okay. Okay. All right. So this is an antebellum sermon by Paul. I like the way that he preaches and he's telling the people he's not talking about freedom, but he really is. All right. So, we is gathered here, my brothers, in this howling wilderness, for to speak some words of comfort to each other in distress. And we choose to explain it by and by. And the Lord said, Moses, Moses. And the man said, here am I. Now, old Pharaoh down in Egypt was the worst man ever born. And he had the Hebrew children down there working in his corn. Twelve the Lord got tired of his fooling and said I'll let him know. Look here, Moses, go tell Pharaoh for to let them children go. And if he refused to do it, I will make him rue the hour. For I'll empty down on Egypt all the vials of my power. Yes, he did. And Pharaoh's army wasn't worth a half a dime. For the Lord will help his children. You can trust him every time. And your enemies may assail you in the back and in the front, but the Lord is all around you for to bear the battle's brunt. They can train you, they can forge your chains and shackles from the mountains to the sea. But the Lord will winsome Moses for to put his children free. Wait a minute, back down again. Go back a page. Okay. And the land shall hear his thunder, like a blast from Gabriel's horn. For the Lord of hosts is mighty when he girds his armor on. But for fear that someone mistakes me, I will pause right here to say that I'm still a preaching ancient. I ain't talking about today. But I tell you, fellow Christians, things will happen mighty strange. Now the Lord done this for Israel, and his ways don't never change. And that love he showed to Israel wasn't all on Israel spent. Now don't run and tell your masters that I'm preaching discontent. Because I isn't. I was judging Bible people by the acts. I was giving you the scripture. I was handing you the facts. But the Lord, he let him see. But the Lord, because old Pharaoh believed in slavery, but the Lord, he let him see that the people he done put breath in every mother's son is free. And there's others thinks like Pharaoh, but they calls the scripture liar. For the Bible says a servant is unworthy of his hire. And you can't get round or through that, and you can't get over it. For whatever place you get in, this here Bible too will fit. So you see, the Lord's intention from the time the world began was that all his mighty freedom should belong to every man. But I think it would be good here if I pause again to say that I'm talking about our freedom in a Bible-istic way. But that Moses is a-coming, and he's coming sure and fast. We can hear his feet a-tromping. We can hear his trumpet blast. But I want to warn you people, don't you get too briggedy, and don't you get to bragging about these things. You wait and see. But when Moses with his power comes and set us children free, we will praise the gracious master that done give us liberty. And we'll shout our hallelujahs on that mighty reckoning day when we's recognized as citizens. Children, let us pray.
Okay, let me unmute here. All right, let's thank Dr. Metz. Dr. Metz, you still got it. Dr. Metz worked with me from the very first time we presented the African American read-in since I came here. I think that was, gosh, over 10 years ago, and she's been with us every time. We've done it with a panel before, and we've done it in different ways. But what I like about Dr. Metz is that she always finds a way to celebrate the African American vernacular English and the culture. And she does it without reservation, putting herself out there. So thank you, Dr. Metz. And I know we'll still be seeing you around in Payne Hall. And when we get back to normal, driving the bus to make deliveries to the Second Harvest Food Bank and working with your students, even in the schools. So thank you so much for sharing some English today from Paul Laurence Dunbar. Okay. All right, just take a look at my screen. Okay. So we have another favorite. You know, when I started to get confirmations, the first thing I wanted to do was to look at what people were going to read. And so our next reader, oh, she fulfilled that. One of my other favorites, poet, essayist, the activist, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, will now be read by our director of our campus radio station, WHCJ, campus and international as well. She's going to read for us, Bury Me Not in a Free Land. Oh, I'm sorry.
Bury Me in a Free Land. Yeah.
Bury Me in a Free Land. I'm sorry. Yes. All right. Miss Carter.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to read. So I'm pretty succinct when it comes to introductions and everything like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. Bury Me in a Free Land by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Make me a grave where you will, in a lowly plain or a lofty hill. Make it among earth's humblest graves, but not in a land where men are slaves. I could not rest if around my grave I heard the steps of a trembling slave. His shadow above my silent tomb would make it a place of fearful gloom. I could not sleep if I heard the tread of a coffle gang to the shambles led, and the mother's shriek of wild despair rise like a curse on the trembling air. I could not rest if I saw the lash drinking her blood at each fearful gash. I saw her babes torn from her breast like trembling doves from their parents' nest. I shudder and start if I heard the bay of a bloodhound seizing its human prey, and I heard the captive plead in vain as they bound afresh his galling chain. If I saw young girls from the mother's arms bartered and sold for their youthful charms, my eye would flash with a mournful flame, my death pale cheek grow red with shame. I would sleep, dear friends, where bloated might can rob no man of his dearest right. My rest shall be calm in any grave, where none can call his brother a slave. I ask for no monument, proud and high, to arrest the gaze of the passerby. All that my yearning spirit craves is bury me not in a land of slaves.
Okay, yes, go ahead and unmute. I'm a bit late finding my unmute button. Yes, thank you so much, Lady Grace. Lady Grace gets me here to campus in good spirits. She plays the best gospel music in the morning, and of course, she has a variety of genres that she's on with. But I don't know where you find those songs, but I'm old school as well, and it's good to hear them. So thank you for that. Keep doing what you're doing, and we look forward to having you on for other events with the Department of English. Ms. Curry just presented her version of the African American Read-In via radio, and that was about 2 weeks ago. And again, a very good presentation. 24 hours, I think, of
Yes.
things. Yes. So thank you so much. All right.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We're going to be moving on along here. And if you put a note in the chat for me, it's gone down quite a bit. Raise your hand if you need me to move you up. I'm just not, I can't see all the messages right now. Okay. And thanks for doing that. All right. You all know we have some featured guests today, and you know, I'm just holding them for like the dessert, okay? But don't worry, they are coming. All right. So moving now, we're in set 2 now. All right. We're going to continue that. We have 2 poems from the Langston Hughes era, the Harlem Renaissance. Dr. Cox is going to present that reader.
Hello, everyone. I'm introducing you to Cherise Seal, who teaches English at Savannah State University. Professor Seal has traveled worldwide and spent 7 years in leadership and teaching English to Arabic students in the United Arab Emirates. She has a deep love for African American poetry, mainly writers from the Harlem Renaissance. She uses many forms of Black art, music, and poetry to teach her students. And today, she will read a piece that reminds her that an ugly duckling can create swans. The Negro Mother by Langston Hughes.
Hello, everyone. I'm a little hoarse today, so bear with me. But this piece cannot be done without a piece of music that my grandmother would sing. She would sing, "Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrows. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Glory, hallelujah." Children, I come back today to tell you a story of the long, dark way that I had to climb, that I had to know, in order that the race might live and grow. You see, look at my face. It's dark as the night, yet it's shining like the sun with love's true light. I am the child they stole from the sand 300 years ago in Africa's land. I am the dark girl who crossed the wide sea, carrying in my body the seed of the free. I'm the woman who worked in the fields, bringing the cotton and corn to yield. I am the one who labored as a slave, beaten and mistreated for the work that I gave. Children stole away from me and husbands stole too. No safety, no love, no respect was I due. 300 years in the deepest South. But you see, God put a song and a prayer in my mouth. God put a dream like steel in my soul. And now through my children, I'm reaching my goal. Now through my children, young and free, I realize the blessings denied to me. I could not read then, and I could not write. I had nothing at all back there in the night. And sometimes the valleys were filled with tears. But I kept on trudging on through those lonely years. And sometimes the roads were hot with sun, but I had to keep on till my work was done. You see, I had to keep on. There was no stopping for me because I was the seed of the coming free. And I nourished that dream that nothing could smother deep in my breast, the Negro mother. I had only hope then, but now through you, dark ones of today, my dream, it must come true. All you dark children in the world out there, you need to remember my sweat, my pain, my despair. Remember my years heavy with sorrows and make of those years a torch for tomorrow. Lift high my banner out of the dust. Stand like a free man, supporting my trust. Believe in the right. Let none push you back. Remember the whip and the slaver's track. Remember how the strong, struggled in strife, still bar you the way and deny you life. But you need to march ever forward, breaking down those bars. And you need to look ever upward at the sun and the stars. Oh, my dark children, may my dreams and my prayers impel each of you up the great stairs. For I will be with you till no white brother dares bring down the children of the Negro mother. Because sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down. Sometimes I'm nearly to the ground. Oh, yes, Lord. It's my piece. The Negro Mother by Langston Hughes.
Oh my goodness. I need me a tissue. I need to walk up and down that hallway about now. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Professor Seal. Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. You get no idea from talking to this young lady on a day-to-day basis. I didn't even know that was deep down inside. So, oh my goodness, I don't know what to say, y'all.
I did that poem in 1983. I was the ugly duckling, really, truly the ugly duckling that was not supposed to win a beauty contest. And it was the influence of a teacher, Ms. Dumas from Richard Arnold High School here in Savannah, who taught me that poem and taught me how to enunciate it because I was very quiet and shy, and she changed me into be a very vocal person. So it's passionate. It's been there for over 30 years.
That is just beautiful. I too believe in the performance, the performative power of the word and of poetry. And you certainly brought it today beyond our expectations. All right. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I don't know if I can move on now. Let's see who's next. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, Margaret. I think I'm next. So, but Dr. Cox.
Oh, I'm next?
No, I'm next.
No, I'm next. Oh, you're next. Okay, so I shall introduce Professor West, who needs no introduction. She teaches African American literature here at Savannah State. And as you know, she is also a graduate of Savannah State University from back in the 1970s. Savannah State is so much of a home to her. You know, over the years, you know, I attended graduate school with Professor West, and she has constantly been talking to me about Savannah State, and it's a pleasure to join her here at this great university. She's also a poet. She's also an essayist. The list goes on. So without further ado, Professor West.
Okay. I was going to do a Langston Hughes piece, but I think I will say that for maybe the end, or if we need to fill in. I had planned 2 pieces, and I will do that one instead, because that's where my feelings are going right now. So if you will indulge me again. The old people say they brought this all the way from Africa. Pass it on. Pass it on. Jubilee. This is a true story handed down in my family since 1865, I would say, at least. It illustrates today that my ancestors heard they were the family slaves were threshing rice, probably singing a song about Jesus Christ, or spiritual about laying down burdens while separating grains of rice from the shaft for the sum of master plus mistress to profit more as slaves lived on much less. They were using their skills carried over from our West Africans, Cameroon and Congo, from Benin and Togo, and used on Ballinger Hill plantations. Born in 1830, James and Sylvie began that day with orders from Overseer Minor to obey. They had cotton to pick and baskets to load when they heard the drums of the Union soldiers as they marched down Bellinger Hill Road. My people dropped those tools, stopped those horses. Cousin Baby said they came running from the fields. Those in the cabins beat pots and pans all over that land. They ran out in the middle of the road. There was dancing and there was shouting. Jubilee! Jubilee! Liberty! Liberty! That was the day that freedom came. That was the day dreams came true for you and I to cry. Jubilee! Jubilee! Liberty! Liberty! Jubilee. Okay, I need to take a sip of water now. I've been holding back abuse, Professor.
And while you do that, I'd also like to share with you all that Professor West has recently released a collection of poetry and short stories. Don't be shy about it. It's titled Still Waters, and it's about it's poems and short stories from ancestral places. So if you want to hear more from her, please read this book.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's hard to give a shout out for yourself, but we have so many others on here who are also great writers and creators. And we're going to be hearing from them. Let me just peek at my program. Thank you all so much. Oh, okay. So our next presenter is one who I met through Dr. Jordan. We recently celebrated National Freedom Day. Even our national guest, if you're here, if you've heard of National Freedom Day, that stems from Major Richard R. Wright, our founder, who was the architect of that bill, which was finally signed by President Truman in 1948. And it's normally celebrated in Philadelphia and other cities around. But it was Major Wright who was the architect of that, the great grandfather of Dr. Jordan. This next featured speaker is an award-winning poet here in Savannah, a graduate of Woodville Tompkins, one of our magnet or academy programs. We are so proud of her. She's also a freshman honors student. Miss Jayla Lawton won a prize for the National Freedom Day contest. And she is known as Jaybird. She's going to sing for us today with her spoken word, her original work. So I present to you now one of our young voices, Miss Jayla Lawton of Savannah, Georgia.
Hello, everyone. So, I just want to let y'all know where I'm from real quick. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. Home to Paula Dean's, collard greens, and powdered sugar sprinkled along Broughton Street. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, where you can see college kids treat their first home like second class. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, or really just across the river. Swimming in boiled brown sugar, cooled and ripped apart for passers-by, and some of the same river street sweet your great granny had to make for free. The praline. It holds a place in gift baskets. Eat by strange fruits from every ghetto, like raspberries from backyard ditches and scuppernongs near tidal creeks. Four-leaf clovers, pinpoint dates, when Ogeechee could roam free. Food deserts are filled with corner stores built off West Side stories and yeast. Watch the gullah rise through twisted red rum, asbestos and red rice. We crack teeth from 42nd to Bull Street names, paying homage to King James versions and getting our vitamins from white seeds. And they got the nerve to call our red line Georgia peaches a delicacy? Ex post facto laws do not apply to your community. Try again in the next 100 years. Maybe then the cost of living will be 10 times greater than the reason you wake up. This is America, where pretty pink houses for Ashley are on standby by your granny's house and her granny's house. And her master's house, gentrification, oh, what a mess we've made. Over 80 years ago today, the youth didn't have to go searching for the truth that was passed down in River Street's crates, where the cobblestone floors will have your car ripped in parts of family. Smell the paper printed roses in Garden City. Our local Greyhound is the city kitty. She'll get you where you need to go back and fetch it. Go back and fetch it. Suburbia became a little too colored, so back to living on Georgetown and Berwick plantations. Go back and fetch it. We went from runaway Nigger Creek in the late 1800s to runaway Negro Creek in the 20th century to Freedom Creek just 2 years ago, in 2019. The praline holds a place in gift baskets, accompanied by strange fruits from every ghetto garden, a tourist attraction, or another River Street sweet. Thank you, Dr. West. Thank you, Dr. Jordan, for introducing me to this opportunity. Thank you all so much for listening.
Wonderful, Jayla. You keep doing what you're doing. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if one day we look up and we see you standing on the hill. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to make that climb on one hill or another. So you keep doing it. Not taking anything away from the inaugural poet, but we have so much talent here on our own campus and in this community. And we've just got to raise these young people up. So Jayla, you keep keeping on, all right? That was wonderful. I enjoyed the imagery in that poem, and you don't have to be from Savannah to relate to it, but I know there's some here who can relate to every word on there. I walked away from a job which I was treated as if I were on a plantation. Yes, I took a part-time job. I said I would rather clean toilets than do what I was asked to do. And so ironically, I got a job working at Paula Deen's restaurant. And I did that for 2 years until Savannah State said, come on, we want you, right? I took 2 years off. But anyway, I'm just saying, keep on keeping on, right? Things will get in the way, but you keep on keeping on. Thank you so much, Jayla. All right.
Professor West.
Yes.
I ask everybody to look in the chat because Jayla is a published author already. And I put the name of the book in the chat. And I want everybody to also support her in that effort.
Okay, wonderful. It's in the chat.
Girls Who Ain't Afraid to Curse When Communicating with God. It's a 31-day self-study guide to explore your innermost thought and investigate your version of righteousness and truth. And I believe it's also an ebook, and you can get it on Amazon. So there's a for my students.
Wonderful. Jayla, while we are going on to the next person, would you or Dr. Jordan put that link, the Amazon link in our chat box as well? Okay, do that. All right. Thank you all for your patience. We're moving right along. Are you all enjoying this afternoon? You know, there's nothing like the arts to uplift you, right? That's what I say. All right, so I know we have been waiting. I told you all that, you know, it's good to just hold some of the best for the last. So that's what we're going to do now. And in the meantime, I see some of my students on and my graduate, my advisee who has graduated. If you change your mind about reading, please, you know, raise your hand when it's time. All right. At this time, we're going to call on one of our special featured guests, and it's going to be one New Yorker introducing another New Yorker. So at this time, Dr. Cox, would you introduce our guest, Ms. Steele?
Coming from a rich legacy of Black theater, Niambi Steele performed throughout the Midwest in plays such as Tambourines to Glory, Five on the Black Hand Side, Who's Got His Own, and even even You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. After being nominated by the Encore Awards for Best Supporting Actress in a musical for her portrayal of Zarita in Simply Heavenly, Niambi went to New York, great town. She has remained a go-to actor in New York theater and film and can be seen in a variety of performance spaces throughout the city, as well as on Broadway. In 2020, she won the Adelco Award And the ADELCO Award ceremony was held virtually back in November of 2020. And if you want to check it out, it's available on YouTube. Without further ado, Niambi Steele.
Okay, there I am.
All right, there you go. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so grateful to be here this afternoon. I feel like my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother brought me here because I've been in a low place in New York. We have 43,000 people to die. And I sat here this time last year not knowing that it would be this time this year, and they're still dying. As I work, I look for things to do that are off the beaten path, and I found this poet by the name of Aberjani. He's from Savannah, and I love his poetry, and I chose to read one. He's a graduate from your school. And he wrote a poem called All Night in Savannah, the Wind Wrote Poetry. Anxious and ancient scratches tore the air with fingers eager to have their say, pulling me out of bed. They cast and recast nets of lexicons deep inside the womb of the river's roaring belly, hauling up myths born in Georgia and legends sung in Carolina. The wind howled visions that burned the night. Wind of April 2007, April 15th, 2007, screeching like knives on fire. Wind of April 16th, 2007, in Virginia, 33 counted dead. Across the wide shoulders of Tybee Island with thumbnails of exploding waves, the wind typed furiously remembrances of Buddha on the aching spines of whispering pines. It carved the bleeding parable of Christ and the pleading hadiths of Muhammad. Oh, oh, the wind dreamed a dream that haunted the night. Winds of the moon coughing lunar dust in my face. Winds of the sun preaching flame down my throat. What could it be using for ink? I wondered. And I opened my window to yell, what are you using for ink? A whirlwind of neon alphabets split the dark wide open, and inside its bright fury, I saw one-legged pirates dancing with blind prophets. I saw kings counting gold and queens telling God. Wind of dead flowers starving for roots. Wind of nuclear cockroaches gobbling insanity. Like a Passover poet, gliding from house to house and from trembling soul to trembling soul, the wind scribbled sonnets of first-time love and weeping haikus of last hours on earth. Up and down Broughton Street, birds splattered half rhymes against windows and over rooftops. The wind boomed sorrows that raged all night. Wind of Confederate blood, boiling gray miseries. Wind of black slaves dancing juju jazz charisma. Snatching me through the window, a mighty fist of air held me and 1,000 more upside down shook our bones like a marine of lightning. Wind and thunder and bones rattling cadence for the sun that has set and the one about to rise. For hearts pumping life and those about to stop. The wind wrote a bloodbath, too foul to read. Wind of April 15th, 2007, screeching like knives on fire. Wind of April 16th, 2007, in Virginia, 33 counted dead. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. If y'all can't move, let's give Neon Steele a hand for her delivery of Robert Johnny's poem. I'm just the power of the word and the delivery of the word.
I want to tell you, Professor West, that there is no way that this is an accident.
No, okay.
Because I pulled this from just a Google search. I was just looking, I was looking for something else, and I found this poem. But that was months ago. I had no idea that this would come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know one day I'm going to have to come there.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to have to come there where this came to me. I'm going to come to it.
Okay.
I thank you so much.
We have open arms here in Savannah. We are known as the hostess city. And you consider yourself hosted. We're just waiting for things to just open back up. Are you reading anything that you wrote, or are you presenting your own work? Oh, unmute. We can't hear you now.
Oh, okay. I didn't prepare anything that I wrote, but I do have something that I can bring right off the top of my head.
All right. From one of your movies, maybe?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is actually a rap song that I wrote.
Okay. Wonderful.
Now, I was doing just fine from the day I was born, growing up with my grandma way down on the farm, just 2 generations from slavery. My grandma took her own hands and she molded me. The hands was rough, hard, gentle to the touch. She taught me how she avoided slave masters' clutch. Oh, Granddaddy Black, the son of the master, would go ahead and say she could call him a bad man. My great-great-grandpa, the son of the man, and in his mind, that gave him a great plan to make a mockery out of his family with no respect, you see. It was his plan to be the grand master of all the children he had fathered. But my great grandma said, oh no, you needn't bother to make a slave of me, your own blood daughter. You'd make a slave of me, your own blood daughter. So she took him to a courtroom and she won. Oh yeah, in a white man courtroom. Yes, she won. Oh yeah, she took him to a courtroom and she won. Oh yeah, in LaGrange, Georgia. Yes, she won. It was that very day, that she learned to pray. I often heard her say, that she learned to pray. And this is what she said, when she loved to pray. God bless the who that was standing my way.
Whoa! I gotta stand up again on that one. Oh my goodness. So Um,
Thank you.
we didn't put shoes in our church, but we walked when the spirit moved. And this is happening this afternoon, you all. The ancestors are speaking to us. Miss Steele, you are not wrong. For some
No.
reason, and the other thing is that things are just going so well, right? And we're not even finished yet.
Thank
I, I want to also call your attention to the work of Neon B. Steele. Please check out her performances in film. I don't know how I missed this all of these years. The voice, you all, she's a vocalist as well. And, you know, I wasn't partying that much as an English major here in the 70s. I didn't have time, so maybe that's why. But please search for her on YouTube, Vimeo. There's a lot of information out there. And we have been blessed by your reading of Abajani's poem and also your original rap, containing the story of African Americans from the intergenerational messages there, and ending with that liberatory message, you know, that your grandmother won, your great grandmother won, you won. Oh my goodness, this is just all right, students. I see some of you on here. We will certainly be writing and reflecting on this experience. You will get your extra credit, right? All right, I know we're due to end around 4:30. Let me just, oh, I know what comes next. I didn't have to go there. So Abajani also reached out. I think he's on here today. Now you all cross fingers, whatever. Let's hope that this works, all right? I have 2 recordings in his own rich, deep voice, right? And he is with us this afternoon. As Ms. Steele said, he is a native Savannian. He started here on the campus of Savannah State University with the Upward Bound program. And I think he finished that around the summer of, because that program ends in the summers, about 1985, I think. He can correct me if I'm wrong. And he went through the same program as that of our newly elected senator in Georgia, Raphael Warnock. So from the campus of Savannah State University, greatness grows. I'm going to attempt to share with you a couple of his pieces, but also look up his work. I put some links in. Abajani is the co-author of the Encyclopedia of the Harlem Renaissance. He had a groundbreaking essay in Essence magazine in 1980s, I think. So please check out his work. He has contributed much scholarship. He's in the Georgia Poetry Circuit. Please check out his work. I'm going to go ahead now and play the audio that I have, and hopefully it is going to work here.
Professor West, you're muted. We seem to be having some technical difficulties with the sound. So please be a little patient. We'll try to fix it. Are we still having difficulties with the sound? Okay, I'm hearing something now. Professor West? Is anyone able to hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, so what we're gonna do in the meantime, until Professor West gets her audio in order, why don't we proceed with the program? Up next, let me just start my video. Up next, we have Professor Dustin Michael. He's an associate professor in the English department of Savannah State, and he holds a master's degree in English from Southeast Missouri State University and a doctorate in English with an emphasis on creative nonfiction from the University of Missouri. He teaches composition as well and creative writing and American literature. So please, let me introduce to you Dr. Dustin Michael.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cox. It's such a pleasure to be here. You guys are such tough acts to follow. I'm really nervous, but I'm honored to read amongst you guys. And thank you so much for your introduction. Professor West, thanks for your invitation. And to all of the rest of you guys, I'm just floored by what I've heard today. So I'm going to read from The Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates, preeminent essayist, journalist, memoirist. He even wrote a pretty stunning arc on Black Panther for Marvel Comics. This guy is a candle for our society. So here we go. And it's a very long essay. It's from 2014. I'm not going to read anywhere close to the whole thing, but this is a pretty poignant part, and it comes from the third section. I'm going to kind of pick up in the middle of it. You guys can hear me okay, I hope? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, great. Here we go. I'm going to read a little fast because I know we're running out of time. But while people advocating reparations have changed over time, the response from the country has remained virtually the same. Quote, they have been taught labor, the Chicago Tribune editorialized in 1891. Quote, they have been taught Christian civilization and to speak the noble English language instead of some African gibberish. The account is square with the ex-slaves, end quote. Not exactly. Having been enslaved for 250 years, Black people were not left to their own devices. They were terrorized. In the Deep South, a second slavery ruled. In the North, legislatures, mayors, civic organizations, banks, and citizens all colluded to pin Black people into ghettos where they were overcrowded, overcharged, and undereducated. Businesses discriminated against them, awarding them the worst jobs and the worst wages. Police brutalized them in the streets. And the notion that Black lives, Black bodies, and Black wealth were rightful targets remained deeply rooted in the broader society. Now we have half stepped away from our long centuries of despoilment, promising, quote, never again. But still we are haunted. It is as though we have run up a credit card bill and, having pledged to charge no more, remain befuddled that the balance does not disappear. The effects of that balance, interest accruing daily, are all around. Broach the topic of reparations today, and a barrage of questions inevitably follows. Who will be paid? How much will they be paid? Who will pay? But if the practicalities, not the justice of reparations, are the true sticking point, there has for some time been the beginnings of a solution. For the past 25 years, Congressman John Conyers Jr., who represents the Detroit area, has marked every session of Congress by introducing a bill calling for a congressional study of slavery and its lingering effects, as well as recommendations for appropriate remedies. A country curious about how reparations might actually work has an easy solution in Conyers' bill, now called H.R. 40, the Commission to Study Reparation Proposals for the African Americans Act. We would support this bill, submit questions to study, and then assess the possible solutions. But we are not interested. Quote, it's because Black folks making the claim, end quote. Nkechi Taifa, who helped found NCOBRA, says, quote, people who talk about reparations are considered left lunatics. But all we're talking about is studying reparations. As John Conyers has said, we study everything. We study water. We study the air. We can't even study the issue. This bill does not authorize 1 red cent to anyone, end quote. That H.R. 40 has never, under either Democrats or Republicans, made it to the House floor suggests our concerns are rooted not in the impracticality of reparations, but in something more existential. If we conclude that the conditions in North Lawndale and Black America are not inexplicable, but are instead precisely what you'd expect of a community that has for centuries lived in America's crosshairs, then what are we to make of the world's oldest democracy? One cannot escape the question by hand waving at the past, disavowing the acts of one's ancestors, nor by citing a recent date of ancestral immigration. The last slaveholder has been dead for a very long time. The last soldier to endure Valley Forge has been dead much longer. To proudly claim the veteran and disown the slaveholder is a patriotism a la carte. A nation outlives its generations. We were not there when George Washington crossed the Delaware, but Emmanuel Gottlieb Lutz's rendering has meaning to us. We were not there when Woodrow Wilson took us into World War I, but we're still paying out the pensions. If Thomas Jefferson's genius matters, then so does his taking of Sally Hemings' body. If George Washington crossing the Delaware matters, so must his ruthless pursuit of the renegade only judge. In 1909, President William Howard Taft told the country that, quote, intelligent, end quote, white Southerners were ready to see Blacks as, quote, useful members of the community, end quote. A week later, Joseph Gordon, a Black man, was lynched outside Greenwood, Mississippi. The high point of the lynching era has passed, but the memories of those robbed of their lives still live on in the lingering effects. Indeed, in America, there is a strange and powerful belief that if you stab a Black person 10 times, the bleeding stops and the healing begins the moment the assailant drops the knife. We believe white dominance to be a fact of the inert past, a delinquent debt that can be made to disappear if only we don't look. There's always been another way. It is in vain to allege that our ancestors brought them hither and not we, said Yale President Timothy Dwight in 1810. Quote, we inherit our ample patrimony and all its encumbrances, and we are bound to pay the debts of our ancestors. This debt, particularly, we are bound to discharge. And when the righteous judge of the universe comes to reckon with his servants, he will rigidly extract the payment at our hands to give them liberty and to stop here is to entail upon them a curse, end quote. Thank you.
That was quite moving, Dr. Michael. Thank you so much for sharing a piece by one of my favorite writers, Ta-Nehisi Coates. We know him from Between the World and Me, and we also know him from his latest piece. I believe it's called The Water Dancer. So when you get a chance, check it out. That too is on Amazon. Okay, so I think we have a couple of people who are ready to go, and I'm one of them. I wanted to share a piece by a Jamaican writer. I want to mix it up a little bit. You know, we're here in America, but we got to reach out into the diaspora. So I'm sharing a piece with you today by Jamaican writer Nalo Hopkinson. And it talks about a lot of issues that, that affect us in terms of the way that we see ourselves and our bodies. So this piece is titled A Habit of Waste. I was nodding off on the streetcar home from work when I saw the woman getting on. She was wearing the body I used to have. The shock woke me right up. It was my original, the body I had replaced 2 years before. Same full, tarty-looking lips, same fat thighs rubbing together with every step, same outsized ass, same narrow torso that seemed grafted onto a lower body a good 3 sizes bigger, as though God had glued leftover parts together. On my pay, I had to save for 5 years before I could afford the switch. When I ordered the catalog from MediPerfection, I pored over it for a month, drooling at the different options. Aeroslim Cindy's, supermodel quality. Indira's came with creamy brown skin, falls of straight dark hair, and curvaceous bodies, exotic grace. I finally chose one of the Dianas with their lithe muscles and small firm breasts, boyish beauty. They downloaded me into her as soon as I could get the time off from work. I was back on the job in 4 days, although my fine muscle control was still a little shaky. And now, here was someone wearing my old cast off. She must have been in a bad accident. Too bad for the body to be salvaged. If she couldn't afford cloning, the doctors would have just downloaded her brain into any donated discard. Mine, for instance. Poor thing, I thought. I wonder how she's handling that chafing problem. It used to drive me mad in the summer. I wanted to put her ticket in the box. I watched her put her ticket in the box. The driver gave her a melting smile. What did he grin at? I studied my former body carefully as it made its way down the center of the streetcar. I hated what she'd done to her hair. Let it go natural. For Christ's sake, sectioned it off and coiled black thread tightly around each section with a puff of hair on the end of every stalk. Man, I hated that back to Africa nostalgia shit. She looked like a Dr. Seuss character. There's no excuse for that nappy-headed nonsense. She had a lot of nerve too, wrapping that behind in a flower print sarong midi skirt, sort of making your ass into a billboard. When it was my body, I always covered its butt in long skirts or loose pants. Her skirt was so short I could see the edges of the bike shorts peeking out below it. Well, it's one way to deal with the chafing. Strange though, on her, the little peak of black shorts looked stylish and sexy all at once. From looking graceless, far from looking graceless, her high round bottom twitched confidently with each step, giving her a proud sexiness I had never had. Her upper body was sheathed in a white sleeveless t-shirt, white. Such a plain color. To tell the truth though, the clingy material emphasized her tiny waist, and the white looked really good against her dark skin. And my old skin always had that glow to it. Such firm, strong arms. All the seats in the streetcar were taken. Good. Let the bitch stand. I hope my fallen arches were giving her hell. Thank you. That was A Habit of Waste by Neil O. Hopkinson. Okay, Professor West, shall I continue? Did you get your audio back yet? Okay. All right. Well, I cannot see the program. Can you please share the screen? Let me see the program to see where we are. I don't want to leave anybody out. Okay. Well, we have, do we wrap up at this point, or is there anyone we could spend a few more minutes if anybody wants to do a little freestyle and read something that you know, they were hesitant of reading before. Okay, well, I think
I'm sorry.
okay, does anyone want to read again? Dr. Mendelson?
I had something I wanted to share.
Okay, that's what I like to see. Okay, Tamia, hi, how you doing? Okay,
Good.
the floor is yours. This is Tamia. She's one of my former students. I had her for African American drama, and she was very dramatic, very powerful in her performance. So, you know, it's a treat to have her here sharing her voice. So, Tamia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is a poem I wrote called The Trails of a Black Woman's Tears. And honestly, I haven't like read this in a public setting, I guess. So this would be my first time. So anyways, her tears started after she bit an apple. The instructions were to not eat from the tree of knowledge. She was deceived by a lurker in the grass and flipped the earth on its head. As she left the beautiful green garden, her tears sunk into the grasses, giving it and everything else life. Her tears poured out like a tsunami when her son murdered his brother over envy. Her ears and eyes cried when she heard the screams of her daughters bearing new life. No one cared about her tears as she was forced away from her home. Nobody protected her from hands that didn't belong near her body. She and her sisters flooded the oceans and seas with salty tears from their swelled up eyes. She was never silent with her crying, but no one ever heard her. Her body, as well as those of her children, were consciously buried at sea to avoid the atrocities that awaited them in the new world. Her disobedience caused mankind to fall, but her children were innocent, initially. But has she not cried enough? Are her tears not an acceptable display of how sorry she is? The earth continues to be fertilized by her tears, and she'll never stop giving it life. Her sons and daughters hate each other and are hated by individuals who are just like them. She and her sisters left enough tears at their children's graves to bring them back to life. Her tears are scattered all over this earth, and yet she's still crying for all of her children. Won't they just learn from their mother's mistakes so they won't inherit her heavy heart and swollen eyes? That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tamia. That was a lovely rendition of this piece. Aren't you glad you did it? Aren't you glad you showed up?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we have up next Stephen Bess. I'm not going to give an introduction. He's going to introduce himself. I'm sure he has a lot to say in the piece that he's performing. So the floor is yours, Stephen Bess.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Cox. My name is Stephen Bess. I'm a professor at Montgomery College here in Rockville, Maryland, just outside of DC. I'm a native Washingtonian, but I definitely consider Savannah one of my homes. I spent 5 years there, got there in the spring of 1989, graduated in 1994. I worked at the radio station, WHCJ. So I have a lot of love for Savannah and some family there too. But I have an original poem that I wanted to share. Actually, one that I just finished, one that I just wrote. It's called I'm Still Here, Ka Modimo, which is Sotho, which is my wife's language in South Africa, which means through God. So this poem is sort of dedicated to, of course, everyone who has felt the knees of this system, this racist system, in their back, in their neck, or anywhere on their body. And even recently, with the young man who died, and you can see his name in the news. I'm sure in the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news that you'll see tonight. I am still here. While Protestant knees are bending, I am still here. As I protest the patterns of lending on red line streets, I'm spending more than I am making. As I wear out my shoes, stomping and praying about this system that is slain without remorse, I have but one recourse, but to fight. As I raise my fist against the killings that don't make sense, God, we need you. And I thank you. That I am still here. Despite the Protestant knees that instill fear, but God, but God, but God, we are still here. Thank you.
Another powerful piece by another powerful performer. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Okay, we're still going. I know we're past the time, but you know, more readings. Is anyone stepping forward to share their reading? I see some familiar names and faces. Don't be shy. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It was a wonderful afternoon. What a great way to spend the afternoon with poetry and fiction and the presence of so many powerful people. It was wonderful to have you all here. And this is the first time in a long time that we're doing this at Savannah State in this format. Yes, thank you again, Professor Silberg, for helping us make this happen. And special thanks to Dr. Martin, the Dean of Class, and you know, many of the people here at Savannah State. It was certainly an inspiring evening, and I see a lot of comments being dropped in the chat. You know, I can tell that so many people had a good time in this presentation. And hopefully next year, when we're doing this again, we will be doing it in person. You know, enough for the Brady Bunch stuff, but it's been a pleasure anyway. And thank you so much for the students, especially who have participated, the faculty, you know, people who came all the way from New York to do this performance. It was great to have you here. And we hope to see you back here in Savannah, at Savannah State. Thank you so much. All right, well, have a great evening.